If you're looking for a giant phone, and I mean truly giant, as in 6-inch displays or more, these are your three main choices. You've got the Samsung Galaxy Mega 6.3 available on AT&T, the HTC One Max 6 inches available on Sprint, and of course the Nokia Lumia 1520 6 inches available on AT&T. Which of these three is the best of the bunch? Well, I'm Andrew with MobileBurn.com. Let's see. These are three different phones from three different companies, and they take very different approaches, predictably. Let's start with the Samsung Galaxy Mega. When you power it on, you see that it has that big 6.3-inch display, and that's an AMOLED display compared to the IPS of the HTC One Max and the Nokia Lumia 1520. It also has a different build style. This has a glossy plastic coating, picks up a lot of fingerprints, is very reflective, has a fake chrome accents on the side, power button on the right, volume buttons on the left. So if you do have the big hands, it's designed for you to easily get to them if you hold the device high up along the top. At the top, you have a 3.5mm headphone jack and an IR blaster in case you want to control your TV or other devices. It also has a hardware home button and a menu button and back button as well. Okay, then you have the Nokia Lumia 1520. It also has plastic, but this has more of a matte finish, so it feels a lot more comfortable to hold. Doesn't pick up as much moisture, so it's nicer. But along the sides, it has a power button in the middle, volume button at the top, so it's designed for you to hold it up top as well, but you don't have to lean over, which is an advantage there. At the bottom, you have a dedicated camera button. At the top, you have your headphone jack. No IR blaster, and at the bottom you have your charging port. As far as the buttons go, this is a Windows Phone handset, so it has the same standard buttons that you see on every Windows device: back, home, and search in case you want to launch Bing. Now with the HTC One Max, they went with a different approach. This is metal. It has like aluminum on the back, and it has the volume button and the power buttons along the side as well. The sides are not metal, they're more plastic. And this one, even though it's technically not as heavy as the other devices, it feels heavier just because it's metal and a lot of the weight is at the top. But it's also one of the slimmest of the three devices. So if you want that massive screen without feeling like you have to reach over all the time, this might be the one that you want to go for. But we'll get into that a little more later when you have to compare some other features. As far as hardware, it also has the unique feature of having dual speakers on the front. On the other devices, the speaker is on the back, as you see with the Mega, and you see with the Lumia 1520. The speaker's right here. Now, the 1520 has solid speakers. I like the volume and I like the quality. The Mega, not so much. But the One Max definitely gets the edge when it comes to both volume and quality in terms of speakers. And plus, it has the advantage of having both of them be in the front, which is definitely something that you'll look forward to. You have your headphone jack, and then again, you have the IR blaster to control your TV. Now, when you're comparing screens that are at least 6 inches or more, it's obvious that display quality is going to be a big deciding factor for you. In that case, the Galaxy Mega has some catching up to do. Even though it's the biggest of the bunch, it has only a 720p resolution, which is half as much as what you'll get with the One Max and the 1520, both of which have 1080p HD resolutions. And if you ask if that makes a difference, the answer is absolutely yes. The One Max and the 1520 look clearer. It's obvious that they're more dense in terms of pixels, so when you're watching video and looking at photos, they'll look a lot better. Aside from that, the 1520 has something that neither device has, which is sunlight readability, which is designed to make it more visible outdoors. For that reason, I think that the 1520 has the best display out of all three of these phones. Aside from that, you can change the color, temperature, and profile, even though you can't really change the brightness on a sliding scale like you can with the Mega and the One Max. I think overall, the 1520 has the best screen. The phones become especially distinguished when you're looking at software. With the Galaxy Mega, you're running Android 4.2 with Samsung's customization. So you see things like the Watch On app. This allows you to browse what's on TV that night, You can tune it to the station because, like I mentioned, it has the IR blaster built in. And aside from that, it provides you recommendations. When you look at the lock screen, you can jump to a specific app. So if I want to jump into Google Now, which has my personalized search, I can just tap on that app and drag up, and it'll take me into the search app. Aside from that, there are a bunch of Samsung TouchWiz customizations. Some are better than others, but a lot of them look pretty ugly. But one thing that you'll definitely take advantage of is the multi-window. When you have multi-window enabled and you hold down on the back button, you see this list of different apps that you can have, and you can open them simultaneously. So when I go to my list, I say, you know what? I want to have Twitter open at once, and in the other window, I want to have YouTube open. So this allows me to watch a video and tweet it at the same time. And you can do the same thing with Hangouts for text messages, taking notes, looking at maps, reading your email, browsing the web. There are a variety of different apps that are compatible, and you can edit to choose which apps will appear in the system order, and you can choose how it looks. So this is definitely something that's going to be appealing to people who like to multitask and do things that are unique to these large screen form factors. The One Max also has lock screen shortcut, so I can jump directly into the browser straight from the lock screen, or I can go home and find apps the normal way by browsing through the drawer. But something that's unique to HTC is what's called Blink Feed. This is basically your joint social media center, so you can link it with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and see links that your friends post or news articles from some of your most trusted websites. Hint, hint. And then you can just have it all in one place. Now, this is running Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, so it has newer software than the Galaxy Mega, and it also has better, cleaner software, in my opinion. I just like the way that Sense looks more than I like TouchWiz. And aside from that, you get better widgets for people on your home screen. You can have contact widgets. And it has a better multitasking view. You just double tap and you see all of the apps that you have open at once in a grid rather than having to scroll up and down like you do with the Galaxy Mega. Also, the gallery apps look a little cleaner. The email apps, the messaging, aside from the music app, which neither one are that great, I think that the One Mega has the better implementation of Android. I mean, the One Max has the better implementation of Android than the Galaxy Mega does. Another unique feature is that I can program this fingerprint scanner on the back to do certain things. It's a little dodgy and it doesn't work all the time. But if I can actually program additional fingers to do different stuff. So with my left hand now, I'll swipe with the index finger, and it launches directly into the phone. So I can also program this to do the camera, the browser, or any other app, and I can have different fingers. So if I swipe with my middle finger, it'll launch a different application. So that's something that's unique to the One Max. The 1520 has a lot of communication features, but unfortunately some of them are useless to you unless you know a lot of people that use Windows Phone. But others are still valuable. For instance, in the Me Center, you can have a unified view of all your social media channels that are connected to it. So you can see your notifications in one place. You can see what's new related to you, things like that, and all your activity. And you can also get that same view for other people that you follow. So if you're looking for a way to have a good social view, that's something that you can have. You also have Office, like I mentioned earlier, which is the best implementation of Office on a mobile device. Now the question is, do you rely on Google services a lot? Because if you do, then you might want to look at the One Max, because Google services are obviously going to be better on Android. Google Maps is going to be available to you. An actual working YouTube app is available on the One Max, something that's not available at the moment on the One Max. It's not a very good option at all. So if you use Gmail a lot, if you use Google Maps a lot, Google Plus, things like that, you're going to want to look for the One Max, because Google is going to make sure that Android runs its services efficiently, and it's going to be the best version that you can get on the One Max. If you rely more on Windows services like Xbox Music, Live Mail, things like that, you'll get by just fine on the 1520. It's less of an issue. It's easier to go from Microsoft to Android than it is to go from Android to Microsoft. That's a whole nother issue though, but if that's a concern for you, it's something you should look out for. When it comes to the camera, it's pretty easy to pick a winner. The Galaxy Mega 6.3 has an 8 megapixel camera. It doesn't have much else going for it, and the camera UI is a little confusing, but it can take decent enough photos. Once you get into the app, you press mode to switch between the many camera modes that are available to you. Find the right one that meets your needs, take a picture, just like that, you've got it done. You can also adjust settings in the left-hand menu right here. So you can play around with the settings to change picture size, exposure, things like that. The HTC One Max takes what's called ultra pixels. That's designed to increase the size of the sensor rather than the image. So typically this can help in low light situations, though sometimes it can be a hindrance more than a help. But overall, it's designed to improve the quality of the photos that you take. The UI for this is a little more confusing because a lot of things are buried in the menu. So if you want to change the white balance or you want to change the contrast exposure, you have to go through a lot of menus to get to that. That's unfortunate. But otherwise, this is a very simple to use interface. You tap on something to focus, take a picture, and you're on your way. The Lumia 1520 is the clear leader of the pack. It has a 20 megapixel camera, and it has software that's a little more than you need, but can still be useful in a pinch. You can tap to focus on a specific area, and you can also make adjustments by tapping right there to change the exposure. You can change the ISO, the focus, the white balance, so you can switch between daylight, fluorescent lights, and all of that. Nokia also packs in several other camera apps. You've got the Nokia camera, the standard camera, which is going to be a little bit faster, but won't offer as many changes. Then you've got the Nokia refocus camera in case you want to change between forefront and background focus. And you've got Nokia Storyteller. There's just a lot of camera apps. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but at the end of the day, when it comes to getting the right picture, you're far more likely to get it with the Lumia 1520 than you are with the other devices in this comparison. In the case that you can get by without using Google services, you might want to take a harder look at the Lumia 1520 because of the camera. The camera is clearly superior when you compare the two devices. It's better, it's sharper, has better options. It has a 20 megapixel camera compared to the 4 megapixel camera in the One Max. But it's not that it's a bigger higher megapixel count. What matters is the quality of the image and the fact that the 1520 has optical image stabilization, which reduces blur, something that you don't get with the One Max. So at the end of the day, I think that Android is the better operating system, in my personal opinion. But there are a lot of people who don't really care for Android. Well, actually not a lot, because Android is the leading manufacturer, or leading operating system. But there are people who would prefer to use Windows Phone 8. If you're one of those people, the Lumia 1520 is obviously going to be better for you because it does have the better screen. It has not as good speakers, but still good speakers. It has comparable battery life, and above all, it has the superior camera. So at the end of the day, there are some people out there that are going to be happier with the 1520. If you want something that's a little slimmer, or you rely on Google services, and you're someone that uses apps a lot, or you want to have the latest and greatest apps available to you, then the One Max is your show. Otherwise, I'd say that the Galaxy Mega just isn't a good option compared to this. If you're dead set on getting a big device for Samsung, go with the Galaxy Note or something. It's a smaller screen, a 5.7-inch screen, but it's still a much better experience than what you get with the Galaxy Mega. When it comes to a 6-inch screen or higher, your realistic options, your only two options, I'd say, are the One Max and the 1520. Which is best for you? Well, I just mentioned earlier. But if you'd like to get some more information, be sure to click the link in the description below so you can see a more detailed comparison, as well as see some photo samples of what I've just shown you. I'm Andrew with MobileBurn.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, until next time, thanks for watching.